Hey everyone, I thought I'd go through like a real world example of designing a program for someone that is prepping for a powerlifting comp. I literally just spent about like the last hour and a half making this program for a new client who's competing in a comp in 11 weeks from now. And I thought, just after I finish this, I may as well make a video just while it's fresh in my mind, all the kind of processes and thought process that kind of went into this, so it may help you when you're designing programs and whatnot. To give you like a disclaimer, this is all based off my current knowledge level that I have right at this moment. It's always a continuous process, so this may not be the most optimal way. It's, as I said, it's what I learn, it's what I know right at this moment. I'm always trying to continuously learn, and these processes might always change. So someone else might program completely different to I do. That's fine. There's no, I mean, there are sub-optimal ways and there are better ways, but I'm not saying that this is like the absolute best way that you have to do something. This is just what I've been doing kind of recently. I've been getting good progress with my clients programming this way, and as I said, it's just a continuously tweaking things so I can figure out like how can I make things better. So to give you context of the person that I'm programming for, he won't mind me using his name, Harry. I think he's 18 or just turned 19. Anyway, 18 to 19 years old. We have worked together previously before online, so I've got a good understanding of Harry already. I think we worked for about 6 months. We done a lot of strength type programming. Contacted me a couple of weeks ago, or not even actually, sorry, about last week. Wants to prep for a powerlifting meet on the 11th of August, so that's exactly 11 weeks from today. So wants to and asked me if he can help him prep for that comp, and this is the program I made. So the first process before even making this whole this whole program is I called him on the phone and we did like we did a consult. I had to figure out what are you currently doing. Okay, so with that he gave me how many days per week he's training, how many sets and reps he's been doing on the exercises, told me every day that the 4 days what his program looks like. What his lifts are, showed me what his last 1 rep maxes were, which was actually a lot. He's gotten stronger since we worked together last time. I think his squat and deadlift went up like 20 kilos. It's ridiculous. He's strong. Like, just put in perspective, he's at, remember, 18 to 19 years old. His squat was 180 kilos and he weighs about 73 kilos. 180 kilo squat, it's just ridiculous, and a 200 kilo deadlift and bench press. I can probably do about 102 and a half. Gave me that information, so gone through his details, collected, as I said, what he's been currently doing. Basically, I want to work out how much can he lift. How much training volume is he currently doing? Is he progressing on the current training volume that he has been doing? Does he have any issues going on? Injuries, niggles, pains, whatnot? So I can modify the program to work around that. Good thing is he didn't have any niggles or pain, so there was nothing to avoid. So that was, I guess that's the basic rundown. All right, so with that information, I start working out what I'm going to do with the program. So first off, before, specifically for a powerlifting prep, what I do before I even start putting the exercises, sets and reps and whatnot, I use a comp planner. Should come up. I use the comp planner. Maybe I'll zoom in. What this is doing here, I'm working out what's today's date, when's the comp date. This is not showing up because I need to drag. The comp date is this date. How many days do we have from there? How many weeks do we have from there? This is all the weeks out from the comp. And then that's going to go down, all the weeks, days, comp days going to be there. So what I'm doing, some of these labels are completely wrong. I've just put random numbers in. I'll explain what they are. I have got all the lifts I'm doing twice a week frequency. So squat, bench press, deadlift, doing these twice a week. So one day is going to be like a more higher volume, lower intensity. So the RPEs are going to be lower at the start of the week. So the Monday, days 1 and 2. It's a 4-day program. So days 1 and 2 is going to be higher rep, lower RPE. Then days 3 or 4 is going to be lower repetitions, and the intensity is going to be a little bit higher. So we're kind of like a hypertrophy or a volume type days, and more of a strength intensity type day. So that's what this is. So this first column is like what's the repetitions I'm going to be using each week for the strength days, for the hypertrophy days. What's going to be the RPEs for this actually back to front. This is meant to be the strength day, hypertrophy day. This is the RPEs for the hypertrophy day. This is going to be the RPEs for the strength days. As I said, this is a bit messy, but it just worked for my brain because I know what I'm doing for my own stuff. Alright, so I've worked out what reps are we going to do on those days, what RPs are going to do those days, and how is that going to change as the weeks go on. So for this first, actually, I'm going to just slightly jump. Before working out the reps and RPs I'm going to use, I want to work out like, where are we going to kind of have like a taper or a predicted taper. So I think the first is 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of training. Then there's going to be a little bit of a kind of taper in the middle there. So then he'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of training. And then there's going to be kind of the taper that leads into the comp. So I've been working out that first, where the taper is going to be. Just a kind of disclaimer that I'll say with all this as well. This kind of framework, this is a framework that helps me guide my programming for the next 11 weeks. However, this is not a set in stone framework. It's going to determine that when he sends me his weekly updates each week, things might happen. He might respond differently to the program to what I've predicted. I'm not even trying to predict, actually. I'm going to give him the program, see how he responds, and if he just happens to follow in this framework, if his kind of adaptations fit into my framework, cool, then I can kind of skip to my framework. However, if things start deviating, if the program's too easy, too hard, or whatnot, if my weights were too heavy, too light, or something comes up in life, I'm going to modify this framework. So again, like where my tapers are, I mean, like especially this middle one, I'm always going to have this taper at the end of the 1 week out from the comp. But where I've got this one in the middle, like I might have it here, I might do it a week earlier, I might do it a week later. Who knows? I might have like a double taper somewhere if he needed it for whatever reason. So this isn't a set in stone framework. I like to auto-regulate it according to how the person is responding. So back to, I went over the tapers and now the rep ranges. So as I said, for the first block of this program, we're going to do triples and fives for that first 4 weeks. And then the RPEs are they're going to go up as the weeks go on. So we've got like 6 and 7 RPEs, 7, 8 RPEs, 7.5, 8.5 RPEs. That goes up. For this taper, the RPEs are going to go down a little bit. Reps are going to go down, and I gathered that I'll put the reps down because then this is going to transition into the lower repetitions that I'm going to be doing leading up to the comp. So what changes in here is the The reps have gone down, as we can see, 2 to 4s, and RP is a little bit higher, 7 and 8s. Again, 2 to 4s, 7 and 8s, and then the reps drop down, 2 to 3s, RPs are going higher, 2 to 3s, RPs are going higher, and then we're leading into a peak into the comp. Also, what's changing in this kind of, this more like peaking phase here, is I'm going to start adding heavy singles. So, on both days where he's doing the squats on days 1 and 3s and deadlifts days 2s and 4s, before his rep work, he's going to do like heavy singles, because I want him to practice heavy singles, because in the competition, that's what we're doing. We're doing heavy singles, so we need to train specific to the comp, get good at doing heavy singles. So we're going to put heavy singles in, but they start light and then they've got to get quite heavy towards the end. The day 1 heavy single, because that's on the higher volume, lower RPE day, got to do a lower RPE single on that. And then on the strength day, he's going to do more of a higher RPE or greater intensity single. And then that kind of gradually gets harder. That leads up to the comp. So this last week's going to be like super hard, 9.5 RPE, so it's like not quite maxing out, but it's very kind of close. Then hopefully peak him into the comp. So that is the whole first process that I'm going to do before I make my program, because I need some sort of framework for my mind, because otherwise I got no planning. It just becomes messy. I need to know my end goal, and then I need to work backwards from that end goal to give me some guidelines, some sort of path to follow. As I said, the path might deviate a little bit to what I have developed here, but at least I've got some sort of rough path to follow. So after I've developed that, now I start putting together the program. So he was doing 4 days of training, and I'm going to keep it to 4 days of training. 4 days of training. So as I said, I touched on this previous. So when I was collecting his information, I said that based off the program he was doing, he's added like 20 kilos on his 1 rep maxes relative to when we were working together like 6 months ago. So basically, what he's been doing has worked. He's increased his lifts by 20 kilos. Like that's huge. Okay, in 6 months. So based off that, he's making progress on what he's doing. I'm gonna keep it somewhat similar to what he is doing. If it's working, why should I change it dramatically? That'd just be silly of me. So I'm keeping it a 4-day program, and his volume was really, really low relative to what I'll normally give to someone. So I'm just looking at like the notes that he gave me. He was basically doing sets of 2 and 3 to 2 sets on lifts. In this most current training block, he was only doing the frequency of the lifts, deadlift, bench, and squat once a week. So he's only doing about 3 sets of those movements each week. Previously, when we worked together, he has done higher volumes, so I know he can handle higher volumes. Previously to the previous training block to the one he's currently doing now, he was doing the frequency of the lifts twice a week with higher volumes, and he could handle that. So because his lifts went up, when he did the 1 rep max testing a few months ago, when I said that he he increased his PRs by 20 kilos, he was doing the lifts twice a week with slightly higher volume to what he was doing now. So I made it similar to that. But again, his volume was kind of lowish, but I said he was making good gains on that lower volume, so I kept it a pretty low volume. So what I've done, the first thing that I do before I put in my sets, reps, and weights, I'm organizing where am I putting all my exercises. So I worked out and put my squats and bench and pull-ups and whatnot. I've organized where my exercises are going to go. I alternate squat, deadlift, and then on these squat days I've got him benching. So there's kind of these gaps in between the movements. Also, it's like always full body. So like we can see we got a squat, bench, pull-ups, shoulders, some accessory stuff, biceps. Again, a back, tricep, abs, back, shoulders, biceps, a hamstring accessory, tricep, ab, calves. I haven't actually put the exercise, like, I know what muscle groups. So before I actually put the specific exercise in there, like, you know, you're going to be doing a rear delt fly or whatever, or a barbell curl, I just put what muscle groups are going to go there on this specific program. When I chuck in the muscle groups, I've got little drop down menus, and then it's got exercises associated to what that drop down menu is. In most cases, for a lot of the accessory work, I actually let the client pick what exercise they're gonna do, because, like, really, is there gonna be a difference between doing a barbell curl or a dumbbell curl? Is there gonna be a difference between doing a close grip lat pull down or like a wide grip lat pull down? Like, not really. I just want him to kind of stimulate the muscle. So I don't really, for most of the exercises, I don't really care what exercise the person does, so long as it's within that kind of list that I've got. I like to give a bit of auto regulation or customization to the client, because, you know, if I just picked a whole bunch of exercises that someone absolutely hates, then they're less likely to enjoy the program. So I need to meet someone halfway in between. Obviously, after developing these kind of this program that someone needs to follow, because I think it's going to be the kind of the best way that I think to get them prepping for the comp. But again, at the same time, I'm letting them have a little bit of selection in their program, so there's a little bit of a, like, enjoyment factor within the program. So yeah, I planned where my exercises are going to be. That was the next step that I did. From that also, I was planning that I said that I have a volume day and a strength day. So the volume day I typically do at the start of the week, and then the strength days I'm going to do at the end of the week. So with that, when we went back to that comp planner, I said I had the higher reps with lower RPEs and whatnot. So that's exactly what happens here. So we had that 5 rep day, and that's going to be, just for this first week, quite easy. So it's going to be like a 6 RP or a 3 repetition reserve, whatever you want to use. And then, yeah, so then I've put in all the rep ranges. So I worked out, I do the comp lifts first, because really everything, all the other stuff, all the volume of the other exercises or exercises, they're accessory to the comp lifts. The goal is to get strong. So I'm working with the main comp lifts first, and then allocating volume kind of like around these lifts, so we're not, you know, too much fatigue affecting these comp lifts. So yeah, put in all the sets. I've put in the repetitions of what is everything's gonna do with the accessory stuff, like the rep ranges. Like, I get the question, like, what's the best rep range? Is it 6, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s? Like, there is no best rep range. It's like context of what's the goal of the program. What are we achieving on this program? What's the purpose of the exercise? What's the end goal of the program? You might go through different rep ranges. Like on biceps, I might do like a block where we're doing higher rep 15s, and then another block I might do lower rep 12 reps. It's a way to kind of change the training stimulus. You can change the rep ranges. So these rep ranges aren't firm that you have to do these rep ranges. And really, its adaptation is going to be a whole different if you're doing 12 reps versus 14 reps on like your accessory exercises. Not really. So I've kind of got principles that I like to work in. I've got like rep ranges on the accessory exercises that I like to work within. But, you know, it's not a specific number. But anyway, I've got the rep ranges. Now, after I've I've laid the exercises down, I've laid the sets down, I've laid the reps, and just with the reps, the sets, how I said that he was on the lower volume. So after I've made all those exercises, I've put all the sets down on my specific program that I've got here. If I scroll to the side, and I've got this kind of mess on the end. If you just focus on like this, you won't be able to read it probably. If I zoom in, I've got this column, this these two columns. This is saying this calculates for me when I program. It calculates how many sets are we doing per movement. So in total, there's like only 5 sets of squats, 5 sets of deadlifts, 9 sets of bench, vertical pulling, pull-ups, whatnot. It calculates how much sets I've allocated to each of those exercises. I've also got how many sets have been allocated to particular muscle groups, quads, hamstrings, glutes, calves, chest, and whatnot. Because when I'm making that volume, I'm putting it in the program, but I want to see from a larger kind of like macro view, how much volume are we doing in that week? Does the volume make sense? Does it follow like, you know, current literature set recommendations of training volume? And yeah, it fits with that. Now, I want to make it sense. Like, I don't want to like put a whole bunch of volume and then I look at my macro view and it's like, oh, you're doing like 40 sets of quads. I'm like, it's a bit too much. Doesn't really make sense. So I just want to be like, does the program make sense? Did I make a mistake somewhere? Because if I find a number and I look, I'm like at biceps and this is like, you know, 30 sets. I'm like, oh, I must have made a mistake. Silly example, but that's what I'm using. Does the program make sense? Did I make a mistake? Again, this volume is a little bit lower to what I would give to the normal person. But as I said, Harry's been making really good gains on low volume. So I'm just going to keep him on the lower side of the volume. Could he make better gains with even higher volume? Possibly. But am I willing to kind of try it and it backfires on me? I'd rather go with the safer option. If he's making good gains on the lower volume, I'm going to go with the lower volume because he's been making good gains. We're only 11 weeks away from a prep. Maybe after the prep that I can kind of experiment a little bit, but for now, it's working, so we're just going to go with that. I did slightly increase the volume a little bit relative to what he's been doing because I know he can handle a little bit more, so I did push it a bit more, but I'm still keeping it pretty low. Now, the final process after I put in my exercises, my sets, my reps, I planned all of the days are. The last thing I'm going to prescribe is how much weight is he going to lift on these comp lists on particular days. Again, I said that I had, for like these, I had the reps, I had a rough idea of how hard I want that session. What's the intensity? This high rep day, I wanted it to be about a 6 RPE. Which is going to be just like a 4 repetitions in reserve. So what I've got a chart here. I know it's a mess, but these are going to be RPEs or weights according to reps. So this is 1 rep, 2 rep, 3 rep, 4 reps, 5 reps, 6 reps. So this is a squat. Repetition ranges, and this is the repetitions reserve and RPE. So this is the maximum effort. A 9.5 or half RIR, 1 RIR, 9 RPE, whatnot. And then it gives me, you know, predicted load. So if I said for that first week, I want him to work at 5 reps at around a 6 RPE. So cool. I know what his squat 1 RM is because he gave it to me. It was a 180 kilos, and he did that like 2 months ago. So he's probably around still a 180, might even be a 182 and a half, but I like to be a bit conservative. I'd rather be conservative with the loads rather than over predict the loads. But anyway, I'll go through that in a sec. I said that I wanted him to be on a 5 reps at about a 6 RPE. So if I go 5 at a 6 RPE, it's going to be roughly about 137.5 kilos. So that is how I'm going to predict the loads. So if we go here, you can see I put 137.5 kilos. Then I'll do the same process for his barbell bench press, his deadlift, overhead press I didn't do, no. And that's how I predicted. Like, I'll give you another example. Here, I wanted him to work at 3 reps, and I want this at a 7 RPE, or 3 repetitions in reserve in his bench press. I know his bench press is around, his 1 rep max is about 102.5 kilos. So if working for 3 reps at a 7 RPE, it is going to be 3 reps, 7 RPE, 85.8. So I probably did that at 85 kilos, I think I would have said that. Yeah, 85 kilos. I went a bit under rather than over. Now with these weights as well, I'd rather go on the conservative side. So why are we starting with lower RPEs? Well, I don't want to be at max RPEs because let's pretend if we're doing week 1 and we're maxing out, where do we increase from there? If he's already maxing out, how am I going to increase the load week to week? Also, you don't have to max out each week in order to see improvements in strength. You're better off doing a sub-maximal loads and then building that up as the weeks go on, and the intensities can start increasing as the weeks go up. You get stronger in the sub-maximal loads. If anything, your strength probably not going to be as good. If you're maxing out each week, you're going to be generating all this fatigue, and this fatigue is going to compound day to day, and then you're just going to fall into the kind of this fatigue hole, and you'll plateau. I see the mistake that people go into the gym and they're just maxing out each session, trying to do PBs week to week, and they don't get PBs week to week. They might one week, then the next week they're down, then they kind of hit the same, then they're down again, then they hit the same. It's kind of this zigzag pattern, and then it leads to injury. It leads to frustration because you don't see this progress. Like they're just not getting stronger, and it's because of partially it's because of this maxing out week to week. So when you're not maxing out week to week, it ramps up over time. Again, I'm starting with the weights conservative, because I'd rather underestimate the weights in week 1, because what Harry's going to do with this program, he's going to fill in for me. That's what on this side is. He's going to fill in how much reps he did, which would be 5 for using the squat. 5, he would have used 137.5, unless something went wrong and he did less reps in different way. And then he's going to give me a rating. What is the repetition in reserve? How difficult was that lift? And does his repetition in reserve, does that match up to what I predicted where that weight would be for his repetition reserve? I said that for 3 sets by 5 reps with 137.5 kilos, it's going to be at a 6 RP or a 4 repetitions in reserve. I'm going to see, is it a 4 repetition reserve? Okay, because I don't know how easy or hard it's going to be for him yet. I'm probably pretty close to the mark, but I don't know how hard it is until he does it. So what he's going to do, he's going to fill in this data for me. He's going to send me videos of his lifts, okay? And then, like, for example, this is the deload that he did. He sent me a video of his lifts. I'm going to look at this lift and be like, how hard was that lift? Did it look like, a 6 RPE or whatnot? And then from this information, I can update the next weeks. Because as I said, I'll be conservative that first week. I rather underestimate, because if it's too easy, that's cool. I can easily increase the load at a bigger jump relative to the next week. So if I kind of underestimated by 5 kilos, cool. Next week I can just go 5 kilos up, and then probably from that I can kind of do the standard 2.5 kilo increase until something happens. Unless something happens and I need to change it. Otherwise, if I was to overestimate the weight on the first week, say I'm 5 kilos over, well then it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I prefer the other way, the conservative way, because if I overestimate and I'm 5 kilos too heavy, then next week I'll have to drop the weight back down, and then once I know that weight, that weight matched the RPE that I wanted, then I can start, making the load increases relative to that weight. But as I said, I'd rather the first scenario to happen where I have underestimated the weight for Harry. And then for these accessory exercises, obviously I'm not going to give weights for him. I'm just going to give the intensity that I want him to work out. I don't want him to go to fail. I don't want him maxing out on these lifts. So I'm going to give him, for pull-ups, I'm doing an AMRAP set, but I want you to do as many reps as you can that fits within about a 2 repetition reserve. Bicep, we've got 1 repetition reserve, almost max, it's a bicep. Go hard on that. There's no point of lifting heavy shit if you look like a potato, right? So let's do some arms. And yeah, so I've given repetition reserve prescriptions for the accessory exercises. And basically that's everything I did. That was basically the process that I just went through into making a program for someone. The initial program, especially for someone prepping for a comp, it could take a long time. This took me an hour and a half to do. But this initial hour and a half that it took me, I've got a solid plan. Now each week when I update his program week to week according to the data that he sends me, it's not going to take me too long because I've got this framework. I know in my mind, I know what I'm working towards. So yes, there was initial time investment to make this program. However, this initial time investment, well, one, there's going to be better planning, so he's going to probably likely get a better result because we plan stuff. It's just not like just random, like, oh yeah, that seems like a good idea, let's just go with that. No, it's been planned for that whole time, or a rough plan, as I said, and then that we change the plan according to what we need, depending the response, but we still got some sort of framework. But now when something comes up each week, the time investment's going to be a lot smaller because I spent the time doing this initial planning. Alright, so that's it. Hopefully this gave some kind of insight, gave you a little bit of ideas on how to program or programming for a powerlifting comp or whatnot. If you need help with your programming, I have a few online client spots. So if you want to get some programming done, just send me a message. You can go to my website, there's an application form. If you go to my website and see everything I offer, pricing and whatnot, it's all up there. Again, if you got specific questions you want to ask me, put a comment on wherever, send it to me, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, YouTube. This is probably going to be uploaded to YouTube because it's long as 30 minutes. Jesus. I hope you ate popcorn while you were watching this. Yeah, so if you need help, send me some questions and I will be more than happy to assist. Alright, thanks for watching. See you, bye.